Yes, everyone, how are we doing? And welcome to the FA Cup final match preview. Manchester City versus Crystal Palace is tomorrow, and it is a huge game for both clubs for both very different reasons. But for Manchester City, this isn't an irregular visit, is it? You know, an FA Cup final, a visit down to Wembley. It's routine, in fact. Under Pep Guardiola, this is our 21st visit to Wembley Stadium. It's incredible. Now, for Crystal Palace, though, this is a rarity. This is obscene. An FA Cup final is a trophy that they have never won in their club's history. For them, this is absolutely everything. Although, yeah, like I just mentioned, you know, this is a regular visit. It's a routine visit for Manchester City. You know, an FA Cup final isn't something that we've been short of over the years. But this one, it's a little bit different. It feels a little bit different under Guardiola, because normally when we come to these occasions, an FA Cup final, we come off the back of a brilliant season. We come to try and win it alongside a Premier League title. Look at the past two seasons. That's exactly what we've done. This is back-to-back FA Cup finals, remember. 3 in a row we're doing here. And both of them, we've come off the back of, we're coming into it while being the Premier League champions. This season has been nothing short of a disaster. For the standards that Pep Guardiola has set for Manchester City, for what he has built at this club, this isn't your ordinary Guardiola season. Man City have been miles off it this season, and this is City's only chance, or our only hope, of achieving silverware this season. So, like I said, it's a little bit different, but it is still massively important. Another reason for it is, obviously, this is Kevin De Bruyne's final ever visit to Wembley Stadium in a Manchester City shirt, possibly ever, which is just, it's hard to take, innit? It's upsetting. You can feel it still here. You know, think of, some of the trips he's made to Wembley over the years. You know, I spoke about Guardiola, him taking us to Wembley 20 times already. Of course, Kevin De Bruyne's been there for every step of the journey. He's been massive. What he's done for this football club, this football team, for us fans, the pleasure it has been watching him in a City shirt over these years. For me, the greatest ever player to wear the shirt. Honestly, we love him and we appreciate him, each and every single City fan. And that is going to be displayed, it's going to be shown with a tifo at the bottom tier of Wembley Stadium, in front of me, I'd imagine, as well, because look, my seat for the game is 112. I think that's where the tifo is going to be, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what it's like. We are 1894 Group put on a fundraiser to raise money for Kevin De Bruyne's tifo, make it a big and make it a special one, for his final ever day, whether he starts the game, plays it all, whatever. We've got to show him that he's worshipped by us fans. They put on a target raiser of £5,000. It is now on just short of £12,000, over double the target, which is just, like I said, it's just a token. It's just a clear bit of evidence to say, look, this is how much you mean to us, and hopefully it's a belter. I've got absolutely no doubt that it will be. It's not the first De Bruyne tifo that they've done, not the first Kevin De Bruyne flag that they've done. So I've got no doubt it'll be a banger. Of course, there'll also be a big reception at the Etihad game for Bournemouth, his final ever game at the Etihad. But let's focus on this now. De Bruyne's final ever visit to Wembley Stadium. Some of the trophies he's won at that stadium, multiple trophies he's won at that stadium over the years at City. He's got to leave with one as well. We cannot let Kevin De Bruyne end the season, end this tenure at this football club without a trophy. We've got to win silverware for Kev. Now look, before I even get into my thoughts on the game and how I think it'll go and how I'm feeling ahead of it, there's a few things I want to touch on before I get into it. So the first thing I want to ask your opinions on, and I want to give my opinion on, is whether this FA Cup trophy will make this season a success for Manchester City. Because of course, like I said at the start, it has been somewhat of a disaster, and this is not what we've been even remotely like under Guardiola, the drop-off that we've had at some points this season. I think we went on a 12-game streak, losing 9 of them, winning only 1 in 12 games, which for Guardiola, never mind just at City, but just in his managerial career, is unheard of. So when you take into consideration at one part of the season how poor we were, to end the season with still a trophy, Guardiola's worst season in management, to finish that off with a trophy, it is impressive. Will it make it a successful season? I'd probably say no. I'd say it wouldn't be a disaster season if we come out of here with a trophy and with Champions League football. Some clubs, that is dream-worthy stuff. So I can't say it's an absolute horror show. But I think because of the standard that Pep set and the stuff we've achieved over the years, we won a treble a couple of years ago. Last season, it was our 4 in a row Premier League. So you can't say that this has been a huge success for City, but like I said, when you take into consideration the struggles we were in come November, December time, just after Pep, extended his contract. I think to come from there to where we are now, to then hopefully win an FA Cup, it salvages it a little bit, doesn't it? Let's be honest. You can let me know your thoughts in the comments. You might agree, you might disagree, let me know. But I feel like it salvages it a little bit. Does it make it a successful season? Probably not. But look, that does not mean I don't want to win it. I am desperate to win this trophy. I want to win it back. Of course, this isn't the holders of the scum. It's in the holders, the current holders of this cup, are at the other side of Manchester, because last time we showed up to an FA Cup final, we were a disaster. We were shocking. We turned up drunk off the back of winning that 4th consecutive Premier League title. We were terrible. We didn't rise to the occasion. We didn't show up for it. And United, we made it easy for them. We made it easy for them. In fact, they're in a Europa League final a few days after this game, and it's our fault. They wouldn't be in that position if it wasn't for us not turning up properly. But anyway, that doesn't matter. As far as City, I really want to win this. It's a competition that I love. I love the FA Cup. A lot of City fans love the FA Cup. Everyone loves the FA Cup. Guardiola has always given it a lot of time, a lot of respect. He's never once discredited or disrespected this competition with, purposely throwing it for a Premier League game or purposely throwing it for a Champions League game, regardless of how many title fronts we're fighting on. Or what trophies we're after. He's always give the FA Cup his full attention, so it sort of shows how important that will be to Pep as well. Of course, he'll want to win it as much as anyone. He doesn't want to go a season trophyless with how hungry he is for success. We know Pep will be desperate for it. We've got players there who haven't won a trophy yet with City, new to the club. Kovacic, for example, has never won an FA Cup in his career, been to quite a few finals, never won an FA Cup. Like I said, the De Bruyne aspects, there's many reasons why not only the fans are desperate to win it, but of course the players, they'll be desperate to put last year's disaster correct, won't they? Now look, coming into this game, I feel like City have been playing well. We're currently 10 games unbeaten. We were in a nice little winning streak. Of course, that last game against Southampton, 0-0 draw, was a bit of a hiccup. I didn't make a post-match reaction to it because what was there to talk about? I mean, I could have done one and put out as a YouTube short. There was that little fun to talk about that game. Do you know what I mean? It was a nothing game. City weren't great. We weren't fantastic. But look, the way we approached the game, the way Southampton more, I should say, approached the game, Palace will be very different. Palace aren't going to put every man behind the ball. Palace are a brave team. They've got a strong attack. They won't just sit back and hit us on the break, I don't think. I went to Selhurst earlier in the season and I thought actually they were a better team. Finished a 2-2 draw. But Palace, they weren't scared of us. They've got no reason to be scared of us either. They'll feel like they can win this, absolutely no doubt. The semi-finals, they faced Villa. They battered Villa. They made fun of Villa. They've got no reason for themselves not to believe that they can get a result out of City. It was only a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? A few weeks ago, where they came to the Etihad Stadium. They went 2-0 up, nearly 3-0 up, and Eze was just that much offside. It could have been a very different game, but City and of course Kevin De Bruyne changed the game. We finished that game victorious, a 5-2 win. So that's something to hold on to if you are a little bit nervous, you're a little bit fearful of Crystal Palace, which of course I am. They're a good side, man. They're good at playing brilliant football. They've got players who can really hurt City. A few weeks ago at the Etihad Stadium, we held our own, we fought back. So even when you're at the match or you're watching the match, whatever you're doing during the match, that's something to hold on to. Keep in mind that, if we do go a goal behind even two, we can pull it back. We can fight back, boys. But look, like I was saying, I think City is we're coming into it the later times of the season. I know people are always going about these runs that City have later in the season. I think this season it's been a lot later than normal. Normally January time for every time we hit on. This season it's been April. I think the game that sticks out to me is Bournemouth in this competition, FA Cup quarter-finals, when Nico Riley came off the bench and won that game for us. I think since then City have picked up momentum. We've picked up a few results. There's been a few hiccups along the way. These draws, 0-0 with United, 0-0 with Southampton. But for the whole of it, I think City have been playing well. We've been playing well. We're playing some good football. Pep's found a winning formula. As much as it isn't the prettiest on the eye at times, and you look at some of the players we've got on the bench, the wingers especially that we've got on the bench that I've spoke about on TikTok and on here, saying that this isn't the way I want to see it, but as long as we're winning games, that's all that matters. But you look at some of the names on the bench: Savinho, Doku, Grealish, Oscar, Bob. Do you know what I mean? We've got these sort of players on the bench, and he's sort of playing these narrow players, very just attacking, just very midfield orientated, not very wide. But it's a winning formula. Like I said, he's been winning his games, and at this stage of the season, that's all you've needed. he seems to have been favouring his experienced players, and I think that is what he's trying to do, just to get us, guarantee us the Champions League football. Experience is important at these points of the season, in games like this, FA Cup finals in general. Experience is necessary, so it seems he's preferring the Bernardo Silvas and your Gundogan's and your De Bruyne's over your Nikos, over your Doku's, over your Oscar Bob's, Savinho. So yeah, how we'll line up for the final, Crystal Palace, I don't know. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, look, I am feeling relatively confident. We've hit momentum at a decent time. There's only 3 games to go left this season, so there's absolutely no reason that we shouldn't go into it and put our all onto the field. We've got to be up for this one. Now look, Manchester City have received a fair bit of good news coming into this game, as far as players who will be available. Erling Haaland, of course, has timed his road to recovery perfectly. Of course, he started against Southampton now, and look, he wasn't great, I get that, but not many players were. I'm hoping he starts. I really am. I'm hoping Erling Haaland starts this match against Crystal Palace. We'll need him. We'll need someone to be clinical. Palace, they're good defensively. They're set up strong, quite defensive heavy. 5 at the back. The centre halves they've got on the pitch I like a lot. Matt Gay's brilliant. Lacroix's brilliant. And Haaland, we need someone with his presence. We need someone like him to put himself about. I think actually earlier in the season, I remember when I went to Selhurst, Haaland, I thought he had quite a good game actually. I'm sure he came out of that game with a goal as well, didn't he? That 2-2 draw. Haaland scored, and so did Rico Lewis. Look at that, me up there. So yeah, Haaland coming back is brilliant timing. Of course, Nathan Ake, of course, could be back as well. Could be part of the matchday squad, which is positive. Oscar Bob back in training. I doubt we'll see him anyway, but it's nice. Rodri's even back in training. Could you imagine it? Oh my days, could you imagine, right? We've had no Rodri all season. It's been a disaster because we lost him so early, and how important, how big of a loss he's been. And obviously he's been back in training the past few weeks, and we're getting excited looking at all these pictures of him in training. And Pep, of course, is playing it down. We're not going to see Rodri. We're not going to see Rodri. And even in the interview, I've not seen Pep's press conference yet. It's not out yet. It'll be out in a few hours, won't it? But Pep said, even in his press conference, I know he's not going to say Rodri can play, because realistically he can't. I'm just getting carried away for the sake of myself. But that's it. He goes, oh no, Rodri can't play. Rodri can't play. And then could you imagine, right? We're all in Wembley. We're already, we're a few beers in. We're all giddy, getting excited for the match. A little bit nervous, but more excited. We check our phones yet, and you see Rodri 16 and I've got myself excited now. Could you imagine it? You imagine seeing Rodri 16 in the team, even on the bench, the buzz that would give us. But unfortunately, I don't see that happening at all whatsoever. I don't see Rodri kicking a ball again, FA Cup or Premier League. We might see him Club World Cup, but even then, is it worth risking? Let's just save him, get him fit and ready for the start of next season. But yeah, that would be scenes, that wouldn't it? Now look, before I get into my lineup that I'd start for this game, there's a few players that I do want to talk about for multiple reasons. Whether we think should they start, should they not start, how likely are they to, anything. Just let's talk about a few individuals, right? And let's kick it off. Who better than not one of the reasons that we're here? Rico Lewis, the way he started that Nottingham Forest game, that goal that he scored, he set this pace. Nottingham Forest coming into it, I think we sort of stunned them, didn't they? I was speaking to a few Blues ahead of the game, and we all sort of agreed on the fact that City needs to score the first goal. With the way that Forest set up defensively all the season, really, aren't they? And it's the reason that they're in the position they are right now in the league table. But we had to score that first goal, and Forest, of course, they would have came in with a game plan, but Rico with an absolute rocket kicked off the game properly. We set the tone, we set the standard. Now look, I know Pep didn't put him into that team for his goal scoring ability or anything like that, but with how good he was in that semi-final, and I thought he was one of our best players, do you think he should start? Do you think he will start? I'd imagine he'll go with the back four, and realistically, even though Rico did spend a lot of the time in the midfield or playing in the pockets in that game, realistically, with the midfielders we've got back or got available in the form that Kovacic has been in lately, and Gundogan and everyone like that, if Rico starts, you'd imagine it right back. So if at right back, leave a comment down below or give me a message on Instagram or whatever. Who would your right back be? Or just think about it yourselves right now. If you're still watching this, think about it. Who would your right back be? Nunes or Lewis? For me, I'll go Rico Lewis. I would. Honest, I would. The second of the three that I want to talk about is Jeremy Doku. Now look, Doku has been in fine form for City lately. He's not started that many games, but anytime City, we need a bit of help, we need a bit of energy, we need an impact off the bench. We're struggling a little bit. Pep always seems to rely on Jeremy Doku. Now, he does seem to bring him on a little bit later than I'd like. Southampton, to be fair to Pep, he was proper with it. He was quick. Half time, he brought him on. But I'd like him to start this game. You know, Palace, the full-backs, you'd imagine Doku would probably start. I mean, either side, really, isn't it? They've got Mitchell on the left-hand side, Munoz on the right-hand side. Both of them are good full-backs in their own right, but again, both of them, I would fancy Jeremy Doku in a one-on-one. In fact, there's not many full-backs in the world. I wouldn't fancy Jeremy Doku to get the better of. Do you know what I'm saying? So, I'd love Doku to start. I think, as much as I spoke about Pep's winning formula of recent times this season, and how Doku hasn't played that much of a part in it, not the starting 11 anyway, I think his energy we'll need against Crystal Palace. You know, they're a strong, quick team. They've got a lot of pace going forward. We need to counter it. We need to hit them back. I would love, and I think Jeremy Doku absolutely should start. Will he start or not? Don't know. Pep will be the judge of that one, but I'd love Doku to start. And the third player, alright, the third, last but definitely not least, is a man that I actually made a video about yesterday on my TikTok. And that will be a lot more in depth, because obviously the whole video was for Nico Gonzalez. The whole video was for that on there. So if you've not seen it, go give it a watch. It's doing quite well actually on it, so I must have said something right. But I will briefly touch on him on here, because look, he's started 2 of his last 7 games for City. He's not came on in a lot of them. The games that he has been coming on, he played like 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. He's been brought on in additional time. You know, he's getting no football, and it's a bit of a shock. You know, with a situation that we all know has happened with Rodri, the injury, and how much we've missed a defensive midfielder. We've got a lot of strong players, a lot of good footballers in midfield, but Kovacic, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, none of them are renowned for the defensive capabilities, are they? Nico, we signed as a defensive midfielder. We brought him in. He was playing well for City. He had a great game against Newcastle. Thought he was decent against Madrid. You know, Brighton. He had a few decent games here and there. And Pep just sort of all of a sudden, again, since he's found his formula, we just seem to like not start him. And look, maybe if he just don't want to, you know, mess things up, or like I said before about the need of experience in the team at the end of the season. So there could be many reasons for it. There's no point me speculating. Of course, Pep will know it, but I think Nico really should start this game. Now, for me, the 2 that we should have in midfield, and I will speak about in a sec, but the 2 we should definitely have for me is Kovacic and Nico Gonzalez. Kovacic has been undroppable of recent form. He's been absolutely amazing, absolutely outstanding. Honestly, Kovacic playing some of the best football he's ever played. Honestly, full stop. Never mind in the City shirt, full stop. He's been brilliant. I've been massively impressed with him of late. And I think it's more if you look at Palace's team, their front line, Mateta running down the middle. I feel like he's a powerhouse. We need someone who's capable defensively big time to just even, before he meets the centre-halves, just deal with him. Eberechi Eze is one of the most on-form players in the Premier League. In fact, he's a player I'd love to see in a Manchester City shirt. We've got to be wary of him. I think if we pick Gundogan to man-mark Eberechi Eze, we might be a little bit lost. You know what I'm saying? We might be in a bit of trouble. No disrespect to Gundogan, but he's not got that pace that he did 3 or 4 years ago. Eze is quick. His dribbling is up there with the best. We need a defensive midfielder. Kovacic, I don't think Pep will start Nico. I want him to, but I don't think he will. I think he might just choose Kovacic. He might choose Rico Lewis, start him at right back, but do what he sort of did against Forest, and he'll play a lot in the middle, and he'll try and deal with Eze. But I think we need someone who's quick, someone who's good defensively, and that is Nico. I think he could deal with Eze a lot better than any other midfielder that City have could as of right now. So yeah, it is a bit bizarre, you know, how little we've seen of Nico. You know, we signed him for a fair bit of money in January. Was it a panic buy? Some people are saying that. I don't think so. You know, City don't really panic buy, do we? A lot of the players, these aren't like these big world-class players that City, we're not just throwing loads of money at the problem and thought, all right, okay, he'll do. Like, I think these have got to be players that City were monitoring. We don't do stupid business. So yeah, I think obviously he'll play a big part. We wouldn't have signed him if he wasn't part of the long-term future. But maybe this season, you know, he won't play a big role. Maybe it won't be in the FA Cup final. He'll play a big role. But I'm just saying, as for my lineup, which this is, all right, this is my lineup. I would start Nico just mainly for the fact of dealing with Eze. I think anyone, I'd rather him one-on-one with Eze than anyone else. So anyway, look, we spoke about the 3 main players I wanted to discuss. Let's get into my predicted lineup. Whoa! So look, in goal, I'm going to go with Stefan Ortega Moreno. He is, of course, City's cup goalkeeper. Ederson is City's number 1. But look, I stand by with Pep. I know people, when it comes to finals, they want to see changes and stuff like that. But I feel like it's only fair. If Stefan's played the amount of games he has to get us into the position, then of course he deserves to play in the final. And look, he's no pushover, Stefan Ortega. I like him. As far as second goalkeepers go, he's up there with the best. So yeah, Stefan in net. Right back, I've already spoke about. I prefer Rico to play over Nunes. I think Nunes, the past few weeks or so, was actually somewhat held his own. Of course, popped up with a big goal against Villa a few weeks ago. I don't really mind it too much. If Nunes does play, he plays. It's fine. I don't think either of them are City's long-term solutions at right full-back, and I think that needs to be addressed in the summer window, and I think it will be. But yeah, if I had to flip a coin, but for me, I'd choose Rico. Left back though, I'd go with Nico O'Reilly. I spoke about earlier in this video the turning point that I felt was in the season. Bournemouth away, FA Cup quarter-finals, and I said our second half performance, and Nico O'Reilly pretty much was the difference in that half. We brought him on at half-time, and you know, he's a player that we'd all been saying, look, should he be playing more? City rejected money for him in January from Chelsea, and he weren't given too many opportunity. Pep gave it him, and we've not looked back since then. But he's been somewhat undroppable. The impact he's made. You know, I'm pretty sure City's player of the month, wanted for April, and he very much deserved. You know, we wouldn't be in the position we are now without Nico O'Reilly's impact off the bench. So, yeah, he was also rested in Southampton game as well, he not a minute played. So, yeah, definitely one of the first names on the team sheet right now, which is just mental to saying, you know, well done for, you know, to him for that. But, yeah, Nico O'Reilly left back, and then of course the two centre halves, the two Rolls Royces at the back, the two units at centre half, Gvardiol and Ruben Diaz. They are the two centre halves I want moving forward. They're our best two centre halves. Into the midfield, this is the midfield three that I would go with. Okay, I've already said it. Kovacic and Nico in there. Nico, for reasons I spoke about before, dealing with Eze, and Kovacic has been undroppable lately. One of City's best players of late. Now that third man, who's it going to be? We've got options: Ilkay Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden. But of course, his last ever visit to Wembley, I love it. I'd absolutely love it. With the armband on as well. Let him walk out and see that big tifo. Show it loud, show it proud. Kevin De Bruyne. I want Kev starting. I hope he does, and I think he will. I don't think it will be that midfield three. Like I said, I can't see Pep playing Nico, but that's the midfield three I go with: Nico, Kovacic, and Kevin De Bruyne. I know he's leaving Bernardo Silva on the bench and Phil Foden on the bench, and I love the pair of them, but I just think Phil Foden as of late hasn't been brilliant. He's not had a great end to the season. You know, you don't need. I'm not going to go in any more detail. I think he'll know it himself. Not that he watches, but you know what I mean. I don't think he's been brilliant, and I think Kev. He's important. I'm going to need this level of experience in there. Kovacic, experienced player. Kevin De Bruyne, experienced serial winner. We need him there. Give him the armband. Let him walk out. His final ever game at Wembley Stadium. Let him march us out. Now look, as for the front three, wow, we have got a lot of options, don't we? We've got a lot of options. All of our forwards are fit and healthy now. Oscar Bob, Jack Grealish, Jeremy Doku, Savinho, Omar Mamouche, Phil Foden, Erling Haaland. Who am I going to start? There's three of them. Of course, like I said before, Jeremy Doku. I want him whichever side. I think for the way I've lined this up, right, I'd probably put Doku on the right hand side, but the way that City play and Pep plays, I'm sure they'll all be all over each other anyway, so it doesn't really matter. One of the first name anyway of this front three, I'm going with Jeremy Doku. The second name, I'm going to go with Omar Mamouche. He didn't play against Southampton, obviously came on late. Does that mean he'll start? Possibly. Pep might have been resting him. I think he's been pretty reliable. He's been a great impact signing. You know, I think he's been brilliant for City, hasn't he? You know, he's sort of slotted straight in. Seems like a perfect Pep Guardiola player. We all love him already. He gets the ball, he scores the goal. Mamouche. Right, left hand side, Omar Mamouche, and then of course up top, Erling Haaland. Right, I know that leaves Jack Grealish, who I love and adore. Savinho, who I love and adore. Oscar, Bob. But you can only fit so many players in the starting 11. Of course, the things aren't going great. We've got great options there to change things, but that's the starting 11 I would go with. And I think that starting 11 brings home a bit of silverware. Just saying, I think that starting 11 wins the game. I'm not claiming to be smarter than Pep. I never will be. I'm not smarter than Pep's coach. But, you know, that's a line of power to take. Do I think Pep will start that? Absolutely not. But we'll have to see in the day. You can never, ever predict Pep Guardiola's lineups, especially when you're at Wembley Stadium. The amount of times I've been at Wembley, seen a lineup and thought, what on earth am I looking at here? Even the Forest game, I was a bit confused. You know, you've seen Rico there. I can't remember the lineup, but I remember looking at it thinking, I don't know what I'm looking at here. There's too much confusion. But yeah, that's that. Who knows what he'll line up? But I think regardless, we've got enough quality in the team. As I say this every week, we've got enough quality in the team to beat our opposition in Crystal Palace. like I said, this is huge. This is absolutely massive for City. This is an opportunity to salvage something, salvage the season, give it a little bit of a saviour. You know, we can stand there and go, look, this right here, while holding an FA Cup, while wearing FA Cup medals, winners' medals, we can go, this is what a bad season under Pep Guardiola looks like. This is the level we're at. This is how good we are. Let's send it with an FA Cup trophy. Now, look, when I say this, it is not an exaggeration. It is nothing even close to it. This game here is everyone in the world, everyone in the Premier League, except maybe Brighton, against Manchester City here. Honestly, everyone will be rooting for Crystal Palace, and I understand why. They're the underdogs. You know, they've never won the competition. People are sick of seeing us winning, except us. So yeah, I get why people want Palace to win, but that doesn't matter to us. It doesn't matter to us fans. It doesn't matter to the players, will it? You know, we all know what we've got in front of us. It's a huge task. Crystal Palace, a fantastic footballing side, a team that, you know, are renowned to be one of Pep Guardiola's bogey sides. I'm not filled with confidence. I'm not going to come in here and say we're going to batter them, we're going to easily win. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think both teams will score. I think it's going to be very close. Could even go to extra time. But I'm, of course, backing the boys to win this. I'm backing City to win this FA Cup. We know what is riding on it. We know the success we need. We know we've got to send Kevin De Bruyne out with a medal on, a gold medal around it. I mean, how beautiful would it be if he's man of the match? How beautiful would it be if he gets the game-winning goal? There's so many beautiful storylines that could be written for this game. For both sides, really. I mean, no matter... If Crystal Palace do beat us, it's poetic for them regardless, isn't it? But, of course, I'm going to back City to win it. I think I'm going to go with a early score prediction, right? It might change in my match day vlog tomorrow. Be ready for that one. Be ready for that one. Of course, I'm going to Wembley. We'll get into that in a sec. My early door score predictions are Manchester City 2, Crystal Palace 1. I'm saying it. You're in it here first. Kevin De Bruyne winner as well. Come on. So yeah, look, I think I pretty much spoke about everything I wanted to. I'm going to leave it here. Like I just said though, match day vlog will of course be out tomorrow. The semi-final one got a good reception to it, so I appreciate everyone who left a comment, who left a like, who watched it all the way through. Sound, nice one, thank you. Hopefully, you know, win, lose or draw, hopefully tomorrow's one will be even better. I'll do my best to make it a great video, make it the best I possibly can. And yeah, what can I say? You know, this is huge. Another Wembley trip under my belt. A sold out Wembley. People, rival fans, idiots, you know, bored people with nothing better to do. We're there ready, taking pictures of these empty seats, ready to snap. Well, you're not going to see any this time. City have sold out their allocation. Regardless, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, it costs so much getting down there. £100 as a minimum, and that's if you're doing a split train ticket. £100 getting down there. They've put up the prices once again for the FA Cup final. It's record prices for an FA Cup final. We saw their allocation. So well done to all the fans who are going. Have a safe journey. Hopefully you'll see some of these down there. Let's get behind the boys. Let's roll them on for another piece of silverware. Let's send off Kevin De Bruyne with his final ever game at Wembley with a bang. And yeah, nothing else to say. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts on everything I spoke about in the comments, and I'll see you tomorrow. Go on, City!